keep in mind, we're doing 3 projects. One is, what are those 3? Name one.
The what was it called? Music literature.
Music theory, yeah. That's actually, I'm calling it keyboard harmony, but it's like music theory. And that's what we're gonna spend the most time in this class on, a whole lot of time on it. And I've given you 2 books dealing with that. One is a thin little volume that I say keyboard harmony. And the other is the thick theory book. I made some assignments in both of those. Okay, so that's one. I'm calling that project number 3. Okay? What are the other 2?
The Legacy of Great.
Yeah. That is mostly you just listen to the CD, and we'll talk about that. I'm calling that project number 2. Project number 1 is what, Eric?
History of
What?
History of
Piano Lit.
Yeah.
Piano Lit. And I'm calling that project number 1. And for that project, I've given you my textbook. And I've given you, well, she gave you these different CDs to listen to on each of those topics. They go together almost perfectly. So I'm hoping that you guys were able to do some work on all 3 of those projects. Let's start with project number 1, and that is the keyboard, or piano literature or keyboard literature. And what I wanted you to cover was the first, I think 2 or maybe 3 chapters. First chapter actually was History of Keyboard Literature. It's a pretty thick volume too. Yeah, the first chapter was just an overview of European history in general. Hopefully you've had a course in world history. Anybody had a world history course? Yeah, they don't usually emphasize. If you had an American history course, yes. And shove that down your throat every year or something. But what?
Well, like throughout different grades, I've had like 1 year is American history, the next year like European history, and then the next year is a little bit of Asian history. And
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, if you haven't taken it, take the opportunity, because well, you just want to learn about the world. We know so much about history now, and it's American history only is like the last 400 or 500 years, really. Christopher Columbus comes and discovers a new continent, supposedly. And before long you're talking about the English colonies and then the Revolutionary War, and then you've only got 250 years to go from 1776 up till today. So it's a small slice of the past. But let's talk. I hope you read this chapter, because I talk about, and I hope that you're noticing some of the material that I put in this appendix. Anybody look back there and see those timelines? And it's really very, very, very helpful. Take a look at the very second page of the appendix. It's A2. You can find that. You have to turn it upside down. So what's the difference between history and prehistory?
Well, history, like officially begins with like when Mesopotamians, like when we were able to people recorded their events
Exactly. How did they record it?
by writing it
They
down.
invented writing. They didn't have writing. How many thousands and thousands of years have humans been around? You know, they were just hunter-gatherers, just surviving. They didn't know how to, they had a language, but they didn't have a written language. It's only when you can write things down. Think about math. If you couldn't write down the numbers, how much math can you do in your head? I mean, it really helps. And we have a, historical record and literature. There's a lot of literature that goes back 5,000 years because the date that's usually given for the invention of writing in various places, in Mesopotamia, as you said, and in Egypt and in China, all about the same time, about 5,000 years ago, or 3,000 BC. You all know the difference between the AD and the BC things. So we've had 5,000 years of literature. We've had 5,000 or more of architecture and art and artifacts of the past. Well, what about music? What do we know about music?
A couple hundred years.
Not much. When did music writing? When did they discover how to write down music? Any idea? I talked about it. Did y'all read these?
1500s.
How much?
1500s.
No, it happened before. They back in the Middle Ages, some monks, they were always chanting. I mean, music's been around. People have been singing. People have been beating on drums, and you read in the Bible about harps and psalters and trumpets, and there's musical instruments. They didn't Greek music. They describe it, but we don't really know how it sounded. Nobody wrote anything down until about 1,000 years ago. You know what they did? They started by just having a single line, and then they would write the notes sort of up, and you sort of had to guess how high or low they meant. And then some genius monk decided, you could have a second line, and you could have a note in between that would help. And then eventually, for a long time, it was 4 lines. Finally, I think in the Renaissance was still 4 lines. But look up there, that's 5 lines. That's our staff. And certainly Bach was writing with a 5-line staff. So, it's kind of nice to know that. So, yes, we do have written music, and we know how it might have sounded. It's all vocal music, starting about 1,000 years ago. But music wasn't very complicated then. It was all in unison. Everybody sang the same pitch. There was no harmony. Rhythm was really simple and mostly long notes. And until the Renaissance. When did the Renaissance happen? Yeah, you're right. 1500. Yeah, around 1500, and things really started to become more modern. In fact, if you look at my upper chart here, we divide history into 3 huge periods. Ancient civilizations, which is about 2/3 or 3/4 of it, which includes the Sumerians and the Mesopotamians and the Egyptians and the Hebrews and the Babylonians and eventually the Greeks and the Romans. And once the Roman Empire dissolved around 400, 500, things just kind of, at least in Europe, just kind of went to pot. There wasn't really much of anything except the Roman Catholic Church. And we call that era, 1,000-year area, from 500 to 1400 or even 1500, the medieval area, Middle Ages. And then after that, we call it modern era, modern civilization. You count it in 1400s, probably better to count it a little bit later. And part of that is the exploration around the globe that I talk about that. I don't want to, if you hadn't read that chapter, I would read that chapter. And please take a look at this material that I've supplied here. It really helps you understand things. Now, the second chapter that was assigned was to look at the history of keyboard instruments. How do we get our modern piano? It's a really fancy instrument, and it started from really simple beginnings. When did the first stringed, there were organs way before. I talked about that. And I think they only had like one octave. They were just really simple. And they played the keys with their fists, you know. It was so simple music, I didn't need to play two notes at once. It was really simple. And then in the Renaissance, the age of invention and exploration, they started deciding maybe we could have instruments and have secular music on it. Everything doesn't have to be religious and sung to religious text. You could just have, secular music. And so they needed instruments that, like this, that could just play pure music. And so they invented a keyboard. It didn't have 88 keys at first, and it didn't have strings. I'm sorry, it did have strings, but it didn't have the kind of mechanism that we have, that a hammer comes up, hits a string, falls back, so that the string can vibrate. If you strike the string, it'll just stop vibrating. I mean, you'll hear a little blink, but it won't keep going. That's what a clavichord was. If you read about that, it was something that came up and hit the string, and it stayed up, but it was a teeny little razor blade thin thing, so it didn't really dampen the string that much. But it was really soft. It was such a soft instrument. Now, how did the most important instrument prior to the piano was what? Harpsichord. And how did the harpsichord produce its sound? You guys know, okay? It plucks the strings. And there are different ways you can pluck, or different material you can use to pluck it. I talk about that, and you can hear it on the tape. I hope you listened, because I gave you lots of examples of harpsichord music and how it sounds. There were simple harpsichords, there were fancy harpsichords. Some of them sounds pretty good. And Bach was writing. He didn't write for the piano. He wrote for a harpsichord. But he would have loved this instrument. He would have loved it. Why would he have loved this instrument?
There's a lot more you can do with the pedal and the mechanism.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, on the harpsichord, here, let's see. Jasmine, get up in there. Let's see what we can do. Yeah. Do you have different?
I don't know how to change that.
Oh, shoot. I thought they would have some.
No, that's not the fancy one.
Oh, they don't have
But-
the fancy one. Oh, too bad.
Then, I think it's changing by,
Yeah, I don't see any piano and voice. That's all I have.
it could, but I don't know how to do that.
Okay. Well, anyway, if on electronic keyboard, sometimes they have to make it sound like a harpsichord. And I remember trying to play a harpsichord once. And I thought, well, I'll play some Bach. And there's a very beautiful, a very beautiful Bach prelude. I tried to play on the harpsichord. Here's the way it sounded. Every note exactly the same volume. And I was trying to play it softer. It doesn't matter. You can go bump, or you can go, and it just plucks the key at the same rate. And every note's the same volume. So you can't voice anything. You can't crescendo. You can't diminuendo. And the sound dies out really fast, as you may have heard. It's like plucking a guitar string, all right, or a violin string. If you play it with a bow, you keep the sound going, but when you pluck it, you're playing. Here. Pluck a note up here. Actually, that's pretty good. Ooh, it's very good. Of course, higher it is, fades out really fast. The low ones last for a long time. But that's because this piano is built with a wood, and the wood helps, keep the sound going. And I mean, there have been so many inventions and technology to make the sound last as long as possible. And so, anyway, harpsichords are not my choice, because I just think they're limited in how expressive they can be. So I want you to know about it, though, because it's very important in the history. But once you get to Bach, and that's going to be your assignment this week, is to read the chapter. There are 2 chapters on Bach. Actually, one is on. Have you all played a suite? You've played a suite before, haven't you? A French suite or an English suite? Abby, did you ever play one?
Abby played the partita.
Partita. Well, that's suites too, yeah. So he wrote 3 kinds of. You'll learn about that in that particular chapter. Talk about the Baroque suite, and so you'll be somewhat familiar with that. And then the next chapter on Bach is I talk about the preludes and fugues and other things. Just those 2 chapters. But this will take a little bit of time. There are 3 CDs dealing with Bach. A lot of listening to things, and I think each of the CDs is over an hour. So you'll have to, hey, you're not in school, you got plenty of time. So that's assignment for project number 1. 2 chapters on Bach, and 3 CDs having to do with Bach. Specialize in Bach this week. Any questions at all? Okay.
So chapter 2 and chapter 3? Or chapter 4? Oh, chapter 5 and 6, right? For harpsichord Baroque suite. Which chapter?
It is chapter 5 and chapter 6, because you were supposed to cover the English virginal music and the French harpsichord, and it was all on that one CD that you listened to. I hope. It'll be, that was CD number 2. CD number 3, 4, and 5 have to do with chapters 5 and 6 in here. Yeah. Okay, no questions, then we'll go to project number 2. What about that legacy of great music? What was the assignment there?
Listen to the symphony, to the tour 1, I think.
Well, tour 1, I don't think you could have heard all of that stuff. I think I've forgotten whether it was maybe just part 2 and part 3 there.
Do you have that page?
We were supposed to listen to, one of the music examples, we were supposed to, listen to the whole thing.
And then find the whole thing. Were you able to do that?
Yeah.
What did you choose?
I really like the American Figaro.
I'm sorry, what?
The overture to American Figaro.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's short, though. Yeah, it's only about 4 minutes. But some of these symphonies, anybody listen to a whole symphony? Well, you were supposed to choose something. What did you choose?
Overture to Coriolanus.
Oh, that's also short. It's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah. Abby, were you able to?
I didn't have time to listen.
Didn't. Okay. Well, you got some homework to catch up with. Yeah. Well, what did you think of? I mean, I think I talk about each of the pieces and kind of talk about how great they are and why they're great and how important they are in the history of music. Are you learning anything from listening to this legacy thing? All right. Well, Okay, sounds like either you didn't quite understand what I wanted or didn't have time to do it. You gonna say something?
Yeah, I could see like the transition of like the styles.
Uh-huh.
It's tiny.
Well, that's the other thing. Each one of these goes through chronology of from earliest, if you consider Bach the first great composer, right through the 20th century. Yeah. Gives you, and you'll be doing that with all tours. I set it up that way, so you really see how, oh my goodness, using different instruments. The orchestras are much, much larger. So, yeah, educational just to listen. But I do want you to, choose. Later on, you'll have to, for example, in the category number 4, you're probably going to want to either hear that Rachmaninoff Symphony or either of those 2 Mahler symphonies, and they're all close to an hour long. But they're very great and very enjoyable hours. I should have you write something about what you've heard, but I guess I won't insist on that. Any questions about this assignment?
So, this week for the Legacy of Great Music, we're supposed to do number 3, right? Or
I would say, yeah, if you only did number 2, I think you probably should do maybe, because, I mean, how many weeks are we going to be able to do this, Jasmine?
Until the second weekend of August.
Until the second week in August. So that's actually only about 5 more weeks or something. Yeah.
Yeah, but they are in competition the last weekend of July.
So it's even less. Well, I mean, it's possible we could continue this, but you're always teaching, right, on the weekends.
No, I
And they're in school and they have other homework and things. So, yeah, I mean, you can do this after we're done. You can just do it on your own. I would, so, all right, this week, listen to number 3. The works on number 3. Well, that only lasts about 20-25 minutes on that CD. But then you need to choose one of those works and listen to the whole thing. Yeah. So one that really, or maybe more than one. Listen to 2 of them. Okay, so yeah, that'll be your assignment. Number 3 is all. So that brings us to the Keyboard Harmony project. I hope you're able to review, and look at the stuff that we've worked on. Let's start with that. Everybody get up to a piano and let's start reviewing.
Do you want each of them have their own?
No, they can. A couple.
Well, we have enough.
I guess you do. Okay, but just
So you have-
grab a piano, and we don't have to worry about a big bench to hold 2 people. So what we worked on last week, or 2 weeks ago, was major minor triads, essentially. Doing them in all kinds of interesting ways, and I had suggested that the way to cover the 12 different major triads or 12 different minor triads would be to do them by playing all the white note possibilities and then all the black note possibilities. And you can either go upward or you could go backwards, starting on B probably. Or you could start on the black ones. And you guys weren't as quick with the black ones, and I wanted you to get where they were memorized so you could do what I just did without even thinking. So let's just do the black one. We'll save a little time. We'll start with D flat and we'll go about plunk, 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 plunk. Only 5 of them. It'll take about 5 seconds. So, and just in simple right hand 3-note chords. Ready, go. Very good, very good. Now, let's do it hands together. I don't think that'll be any different. Ready, go. Okay, now let's do it playing, we'll go a little bit slower, and I want you to play it in 4-note. Alright, why did I start on B flat? It takes a little bit longer to figure out what the note was. Try that.
Oh, the octave.
Yeah. Hands together. Ready, go. And a little slower. Oh, good. Bravo, bravo. All right. Now let's make it a little bit harder. We'll still do, all we're doing is what? Root position, measure triads. But there's other things to do. And before we start doing inversions, let's go back to just one hand. And I want you to do, because that forces you to have to know them a little bit better. Ready, go. Great, hands together, 3-note chords. Ready, go. Okay, let's do it backwards. Start on B flat and go down. Ready, go. Great, great. You're impressing me. Now, we could do that in 4-note chords in the jumpy chord technique. Let's start and let's do on B flat and go backwards. A little slower. Tick, tick, tick.
2 hands?
Tick. Yeah, hands together. Ready, go. Okay, so now that is about as complicated as we could make it if we just stick with grip position. Of course, we could go to minors. Shall we do that? Yes, let's do minors. Starting with just one hand, right hand. We'll do the very same thing. We'll start on, hey, we could start on F sharp. You go up there. We don't know how to do the same. So we'll do F sharp minor, ready, go. And just without the jumps, okay? So that you familiarize yourself. What are they in root position? Ready, go. F sharp minor. Great. That's right, the last one in this case is all black. Very good. Let's do it hands together. Starting on F sharp minor. Ready, go. Play that B flat minor. That's the right. It's coming. All right. 4-note chords. 4-note chords. Look a little bit slow. Ready, go. Great. Bravo. Jumpy chords. And this, yeah, let's go ahead and start on F sharp again. Jumpy chords. Hands together. Maybe just three notes, okay? Ready, go. Good. Good job. Bravo. All right. Very, very impressive. Very impressive. Now, I'm assuming you can do the white ones, right? We don't need to go through those, right? Those are probably more familiar with. Set time. Let's do some inversions. Okay? And there are different ways we can do that. Probably this, and we'll stick with black notes. Like that. Use whatever fingering. We'll do 3-note chords, one hand alone. Ready? In major. Ready? Starting on D flat. Ready? Go. E flat. And let's start on B flat and go backwards. Okay, 3 note chords, hands together, going backwards. Ready, go. It's okay, I want to Good. Great. Shall we try in 4 note chords? This will definitely go a little slower. Okay? Majors, and let's go back to D flat major. Okay? And when you get to the bottom, I want you to wait. 1, 2, 3. 1. So you get prepared. We'll play, pretend it's in 3/4 time. Maybe a little bit slow. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Ready. D flat. F sharp. A flat. And B flat. Good. Okay. So if you're having a little trouble with that, something to practice and get really, really good at. I'll let you double check if you could have done that on white note keys. Let's do A major that way. Ready, go. Okay, good. Let's do what? F major. Ready, go. Okay, what about, well, that's, no need to. Let's do minors now, okay? Starting with a very simple, one hand, 3 note chords, and I guess, Abby, choose a note to start on. Oh, she said, you want to go up or down? Okay, we're starting on G sharp or A flat, and we'll go up. And we're doing inversions now, because we've already done simple. Okay, so a little bit slow at first. 1, and do the very same thing. Take 3 beats at the bottom. Ready, go. To B flat minor. And C sharp minor. And E flat minor. And one more to go. Okay. Yeah. Okay, pretty good. Can we try that hands together? Eric, give us a new starting place.
B flat.
B flat, you want to go up or down?
Up.
Up. Okay. B flat minor, we're going to go up. Ready? Same tempo. Ready? Go. Here's the wrong notes. B flat minor.
Oh, I heard E flat.
Yeah. Yeah. B flat minor. Ready? Go. To C sharp. Good. 2, 3. All boy. Do it again. E flat minor. Ah. 2. All right. Yeah, work on that one, Eddie. F sharp minor. Ready? Go. And finally. Okay, I'm hearing a few little wrong notes in there. Somebody's not playing it right. I'm not sure who. could we make it harder? We could do the jumpy chords, or we could do it in, did we do it in 4 notes? Did we just do 4? It's only 3. Only do 3. Well, let's do the jumpy chords with 3, okay? Rhodesia, give us a starting place.
B.
Which?
B.
Well, no, that's white. I want only black.
D flat.
All right, D flat. I would say it's probably. How would you spell a D flat minor chord? How would you spell it?
A D flat, F flat, and then A flat.
That's right. You'd have to put an F flat in there, which is kind of weird. Now, why couldn't you just say D flat, E, G sharp, or something? You wouldn't be in thirds. Very good, Abby. Yeah, these things have to be built in thirds. You start on some kind of a D, you have to have an F and an A, D, F, A. So it's probably easier to think of it as C sharp. C sharp, E, G sharp would be if I were writing it, I would prefer to write it that way. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start on C sharp. I'm going to call it C sharp. And we're going to do jumpy chords. You want to do 4 notes? Just 3 notes. Okay? 3 note, ready, go. Maybe we should have hands together hands alone first, okay? Choose a hand, ready, go. And you can stop there, okay? How about E flat minor, ready, go. How about A flat minor or G sharp minor? Ready, go. Whoops. Let's try this again. Oh, it's gonna feel just like a C sharp minor or F sharp minor. Oh, which one are we doing there? F sharp minor or?
I think we were supposed to do F sharp. But
Yeah, I think I said it wrong, didn't I? Yeah, we should be on F sharp minor. Sorry. Okay, F sharp minor. Go. G sharp minor. Once again, let's go a little slower. Ready, go. Plonk, 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 plonk. Okay, that one seems to wonder why. That one seems a little funny for a couple of you. So that's something you can easily work on. Spend 5-10 minutes and do these different tricky things, right? We can make it even harder by doing hands together or 4-note chords. Let's try that. We'll go real slow. We'll start on C sharp and we'll do 4-note chords, hands together. Okay, about chink, 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 go. This is hard. Okay, slow down and we'll go even slower. This is the one with all black notes. Ready, go. Alright, you can work on these things, okay? That's about the hardest we could do it. Right there. That's about the hardest I could make it. So, if you can do those pretty fluently, let's make sure you can do it on white notes. Let's do C minor that way, okay? Just do 3-note chords. 3-note chords, jumpy chords on C minor inversions. Ready, go. Try D minor. Ready, go. Make sure that you know, if you could do that, how many different chords would you be playing? Can you figure that out? All major and minor triads in all inversions. on all 12 keys?
72.
72. Now, that is the correct answer. How'd you get that?
So there's 12 different keys.
12 different locations, and on
Times-
each location you would do either a major or minor.
So times 2, that makes 24.
24 times 3 different forms of it, different inversions, 72. Exactly, exactly. And that's why now you can sit back down in your chair and let's take a look at page number 4 in this book. Y'all have that? Okay, what do you see there? At, I call it triad identification sheets. What's going on here? Well, I've written out every possible major and minor triad and their inversions. That's why there's 72 little things here. Somewhere on this page, there's a C major position. Somewhere on this page, there's a C major first inversion. And somewhere there's a C major second inversion. So it's your job to be able to identify any of those. You just played them, and I want you to get it where you can almost immediately identify things. And we talked a little bit about this, and I think I sent you a little sheet about how you can quickly identify what the root of the chord is. How do you do that?
So either the bottom note of a thing that looks like it's built in triads.
Yeah,
Or-
built in thirds. Yeah.
Built
If it's built in thirds, what's the
Or
root? The bottom note, of course.
Yeah.
That's what it
and then
means.
The top of the fourth.
Mm-hmm. If it's not built in thirds, it's going to have a fourth. It's either going to have a third plus a fourth, like the second chord, or it'll have a fourth plus a third, like the third chord. So what's the root? What's the trick there? How do you identify the root?
The fourth is on the top.
It's the top of the name of the note that's at the top of the fourth. All right, let's go through these. Tell me what the roots of the chords are in the first line, and I want you to, we'll say it exactly together. We'll go about ching, ching, ching. Should be able to do it that fast. Ready? Go. B, A, C, G flat, F.
B. Wait.
It is B.
So number 3, was it C or F? I thought it was F.
Did I say C? You're right. Oh, what an idiot I am. I'm sorry. I got it wrong. You're right. It's the top. Thank you. Top of the fourth, and I screwed it up. Let's start all over again. B,
A, F, G flat, F, B, E, A, F sharp,
F sharp.
B flat.
All right, we'll go on down. We're in the bass clef. Let's do it again. Let's go through line 2. It's all bass clef now. Ready? Go.
B flat, C,
C,
G,
G.
F.
You know your names in the bass clef as
I
well.
was reading it.
Yeah, you need to know those really. All right, so that's how you identify the root. How do you identify the inversion? There's a trick to that too.
It's the fourth.
Eddie.
If the fourth is on top, then it's a 6, and then if it's on the bottom, it's a 6 chord.
That's right. Now you just used some terminology. You said it's a 6. Why did you say that? You're correct. What does the 6 mean?
So there's a third and then like a 6 between the
There's-
bottom and
That means it's first inversion. Yeah, every first inversion chord is going to have that, I don't know if you can see it, you can have a third plus a fourth. But if it's this way, I'll have a fourth plus a third. If the fourth is on top, it's first inversion. If the fourth's on the bottom, it's second inversion. And the intervals, when I play that, I hope you can see it. A fourth plus a sixth. That's why we call it a 6-4 chord. You could call this a 6-3 chord. It's intervals above the bass note. Yeah. So, so the abbreviation would be either nothing at all. For example, in the very first chord here, it's B major, and if you are identifying that, you just write a capital B.
Or would you have to write a capital N?
Nope. I mean, you could. It wouldn't be wrong, but it would just, yeah. A capital letter means major, and a small case means minor. So this would be capital B, and it would automatically tell you it's in root position, and it would automatically tell you it's major, because it's capital. Huh. Interesting. Yeah. What about the second one? How would you write the second one? Well, keep in mind, you have to give 3 pieces of information. What are those 3 pieces of information?
The root note.
The root, and then
Whether it's major.
I call it quality.
Quality.
Quality, yeah.
And then
Root, quality, and inversion. You don't say major 6-4 C. You say C major 6-4. Yeah. So the first one is B major root. Next one is A minor 6. Very good. Next one is
F
minor
6-4.
6-4. Next one is,
G
G
flat.
flat. Major.
so it's really easy to as we just did, for you to tell me what the root is. It's always either the bottom note or the, you know, the top of the fourth. And it's pretty easy to spot. It's either going to be one of those 3 shapes. It's going to be line, 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 or it's going to, you know, here they are, the 3 different shapes. It's going to be one of those 3. It can't be anything else. The problem is knowing whether it's major or minor. I don't have any tricks to give you there. You got it right, you got it right. Let's go through, see if we can just identify the quality. That's the trickiest part. And that's why, if you're playing these chords, you really know what a C minor is. You see, it can't be major, it has to be C minor. Okay, so first one's major, next one's minor, next one's minor, next one is,
Major.
then what?
Minor.
Next one,
Major.
next one,
Minor.
next one,
Major.
next one.
Minor.
Hey, you're great at this. Now that's probably because we've been playing these chords. So let's see. Let's start with line number 2, and we'll go around here. 1, 2, 3. Give me an answer. Give me, and you do the next one, and so okay, and we'll just keep going in the circle here. Okay. Abby, what's the first one?
B flat major 6.
Good. Next.
C minor root.
Next.
G major 6.
Next.
F minor root.
Next.
E major 6-4.
Good. Next.
G minor 6-4.
Next.
D flat major 6.
6. Next.
C sharp minor root.
And
A flat major 6-4.
well, you're doing great. You're doing great. Yeah. So test yourself. Now, how will you know if you're getting them right? You wouldn't know, except that on the next page, I've got an answer key.
Well, not for this one.
Yeah, I've got 72 chords written out, and I've got 72 symbols, and they are the answer. So, let's see, let's do the very same thing. Abby, you're first. What's that first chord? Identify.
E major root.
Next.
P
Eric.
minor 6.
6. Next.
G major 6-4.
Next.
C sharp minor 6.
Good. Next.
F major 6/4.
Hmm?
F major 6/4.
Mm-hmm.
C minor 6/4.
Okay, so you guys are, it is no different than it was on the other page. However, let's try this. Take your, up to a piano, get up front of the piano, and now we're going to look at the symbols here. And you have to play the chord. Don't cheat and start playing the chords that are written up there. So here's a couple of things to note. Notice that in all cases you have to have 3 pieces of information. But if it's major, I mean, he did not need to write a capital M there, whoever did this. I did not do this.
Which page is that?
Page 5 here. It's on page 5. So at the bottom of page 5, we're looking at part C, and here are 72 RQI labels. Play the chord that each label designates. That's what we're going to be doing. You play it. Okay, so we can all do this together. We'll go quite slow. I'll give you 3 beats per chord. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Oh, yeah, like that. Ready, 2, go. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. Okay, now some of you are getting the wrong inversion. You're getting the right quality, but and root, of course, I've given you that. But make sure. I think you were playing all 6 4s. I think let's start with the second line there. Okay, C minor 6 4. 6 4. That's right.
Like, oh, I thought you were gonna give us.
Yeah, ready? Go. 2, 3. 2, 3. A flat. Oh, it is A. I thought it was A flat too. It's so
Oh, I
small.
was reading the one there.
Yeah. Okay, let's try this again. Now, there's a little bit of a trick here. Come over. I want you to hop up. Everybody hop up and watch. If you see one that's 6 4, like this C minor 6 4, are you going to find it like that?
Okay.
Probably not. It'd be better just to invert downward. You see, you only have one step. I mean, you could do that, but or I would prefer that you just know that C minor 6 4 is like that. You just from having played all these. You just know what these chords are. So I want you to be able to work on this at home and be able to do this about this fast. 6 4 minor 6 A 6 D major F minor 6 oh 6 4 sorry G minor 6 F minor A minor B major D major. If they're in position, they're really easy. So get where you can just really fast. And you could always check yourself and see, did I get it right? Or you could just ask yourself to identify the chord and see down here. If you were getting these right, everybody was 100% on the identifications. Get to where you can take the symbol and. Any questions? All right, so it's actually fun. And here's another page. Except that on this page,
Oh, there's diminished.
I've added diminished and augmented trifles. And we didn't spend much time on those. They're not as important, but you still need to know about them. So can we do a little bit of drill on those? And here I think we will do all 12 locations. We'll start with C, go up, and then back on the blacks. Let's do diminished. Root position, just one hand, 3 note chords. Ready, go. No, that's inversions. We're just doing, yeah, and do it a little bit slower. Ready, go. A, F, do you define a diminished triad? How are you doing what you're doing? Let's let you, what?
It's a minor third.
Minor thirds. Minor thirds, right. That's what diminished means, smaller, and there are only two kinds of thirds that sound like thirds. And the minor is the smaller. Now, an augmented triad is made out of major thirds. Augmented means larger. So let's play that same sequence. There's C, starting on C, coming back down, and we'll do augmented. Ready, go. Backwards now. Good job. Major thirds. Good job. Good. Okay, so that brings us to a completely new chapter to look at. We've done everything we can with, or almost everything. I mean, I guess I could have you do jumpy chords and hands together on these augmented and diminished, but you should be now able to identify any of these chords on page 6, and if you look at the big theory book, let's go to your chair or your seat, because we'll be looking at this big theory book now. Take a look at pages. Well, I'll start with page 57. And here they're, describing, you know exactly what that is, and then down at the bottom you're supposed to write out these different, you know what the plus means? Augmented. And the little looks like a degree sign, a little O it designates diminished. So I think you know that. Then let's go over to page 82. Here are, again, this should all be totally review.
Is that the workbook?
Yes, the workbook, yeah. It talks about major triads, and you should let's identify these. Down the first line there starts with G minor. What's the next one?
B major,
Next one.
D minor,
Next one.
F major.
Okay, that's so easy because why? It's all with position, yeah? And then you could actually, write those chords out. You should be able to do that. Let's take a look at the next page. 83, augmented triads, yeah? How do you could do all those things on that page, right? Shouldn't be a problem. Next page, diminished triads. Same thing. I don't think we need to spend any time on that. And then, the next page it's a review of all 4 qualities. Let's see if we can identify these. Start with the line number 1 there. G augmented, then what?
D minor,
Then what?
B major,
Then what?
F augmented,
Then what?
E diminished,
Then what?
C minor.
All right, now you're all are expert at this. You're doing it 100% accurately and immediately. That's exactly what I'm after. The only thing is that they're all over position again. So this page that I showed you in the other book, page 6 or something, has different inversions as well. I don't think that should throw you off. Let's keep going because I think we're going to find some other things. We're talking about inversions here. You all know about inversions. Page 87, identifying first and second inversion triads. Well, you know about that. Now, one thing you might not know about is on page 88, close position and open position. We've been doing everything in close position with the notes right next to each other, as close together as possible. But this is also a C major chord. So is this. It's all C major root position. Just because you play that in the right hand, but if you play the root position, the lowest note is what counts. Every one of these is a C major root position chord, even though the right hand doesn't look like it. Clear about that? Open position just means spread out. That's all. That's no big deal. Now let's see if it makes it a little bit hard to identify, but down the bottom of the page there, okay? Here we have inversions, but they're in open position. What is the first one?
D major.
D major. Well, you got to give me 3 pieces of information. D major root. Next one.
G major first inversion.
Y'all got that? Okay. Abby, what's the next one?
F major 6
6/4.
version. Yeah.
It's 6/4. C is. I know it's. This is a little harder, isn't it? Eric, what's the next one?
C minor first inversion.
Exactly. Next one. Khadija?
A minor.
Root. Next one, Abby.
B flat major.
Bottom note determines
First inversion.
first inversion or 6. Yeah. Very good. So you guys are doing fine. Doing fine. Now we come to something that we'll come back to in a minute. Okay. These are called diatonic triads. Before we get there, I want to look at, this was just another way to work on triads, what we just did these last 8 or 9 pages. Let's go backwards though. Let's go back to page, here we go. Go back to page 75. Intervals. Okay. I think I asked you to look at intervals. How are we doing on time, by the way? Jasmine, what time?
It's only 1 hour.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Now we're getting into some new things. I'm gonna talk, make sure you understand about intervals, and then we're gonna be looking at diatonic triads and start doing not just individual chords here and there, but we're gonna put chords together into little chord progressions, and have to do that in all different kind of keys and things. So it's a big jump up. It'll start to get really interesting and more valuable. So what's an interval?
The space between two.
The distance or space between 2 notes. Intervals only involve 2 notes. A chord is not an interval. Yeah. Chords have at least 3. What about 1 note at a time? What do we call that? A note, I guess. Yeah. Or a tone, which is odd because the letters in tone are exactly the same as they are in note. You reverse the letters around. Odd, you know. And how many different kinds of notes are there?
How many different notes are there?
Yeah.
12.
12. Except that we can spell them different ways. What's it called when we spell a note 2 different ways?
Harmonics.
What?
Enharmonics.
Inharmonic with an E-N, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. So, intervals. I mean, it starts with a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, a seventh. What's this though? Or what's that? Or what's that? It becomes, it's a little trickier than you think. There's always a number that you can assign to an interval. And that has to do not by how it looks on the keyboard, but how it looks printed. For example, on page 75, take a look at line number 2. What are those intervals? Some kind of
Third.
third, and then a
Minor.
what?
Major.
Oh, don't worry about the major and minor. That's the hard part. We're gonna just give me the number of the interval, okay?
Oh.
So here we go. Abby, you start.
6.
Third,
Oh, 3. Okay.
6.
sixth, fourth,
2nd.
No, 8th.
5.
7.
great, okay. Let's take a look at, well, at the bottom of the page there, it talks about melodic intervals. They don't have to be at the same time, but just from one note to the next. For example, what is that first interval there?
7.
7, what's next?
4.
Next.
6.
It's even though it goes down, it's still a sixth. Yeah.
3rd.
Third. All right, this is pretty easy, right? So getting the number is not a problem. It's getting whether it's major or minor, augmented, diminished, or something. Now this is where you will have a little bit of a problem. How do you know whether an interval is major or minor?
Well, you first determine the lower note, and then you see if the higher note is like in the lower note scale.
Major scale.
Major scale. If it is, then it's a major
Interval.
interval. And if it's not,
Something else.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a, did you all understand what he said?
Yeah.
So that this, A belongs in the scale of G, so that all those are major intervals, but not exactly. There's a problem. Come over here, I want you to see. This is not considered a major fourth. This is not considered a major fifth. And this is not considered a major octave. Only seconds and thirds and sixths and sevenths can be major. What do we call this interval? Perfect. And perfect and perfect. So fourths and fifths and octaves can be perfect. Seconds. Now, why do they make that distinction? I've never seen it explained, but I think I know why.
Because it's the ones that sound distinct. Like
It's what?
it sounds distinct. Like you can recognize a fourth and a fifth.
No, that's not right. It is true, these are more consonant intervals. Yeah, especially in the old days. Actually, in the old days, they thought these were sort of, they didn't, that's right, they didn't like thirds. They thought thirds were, they like this because the physics of music is such that if you, this is exactly 2 to 1, this is 3 to 1, this is 4 to 1, because it's gotta be double this, because an octave is always 2 to 1. But this interval turns out to be 5 to 3. Let's not worry about that right now, okay? It's sort of interesting. I think the reason is if you take this interval and you invert it, this is a major third. Is that a major sixth? No. C sharp is, yeah, so this is a minor sixth. A major third inverts to a minor sixth. And a major second inverts to a minor seventh. That's a major seventh. Minor seventh. And of course, a major sixth inverts to a minor third, and a major seventh inverts to a minor second. But is F in the scale of C?
Yes.
Is C in the scale of F? Yes. And same with this and this. I think that's why they made that difference. But it's confusing then, and this is where my little chart here on page 74 is your lifesaver. Let's just do it from up here. Watch. There's 2 families. There's the family that has seconds, thirds, sixths, and sevenths, and they can normally be major. The other family, ones, or they call them primes, are unisons, fourths, fifths, and octaves are perfect. There's no such thing as a major fourth or octave. They're called perfect. Now, what if they're not? What if it's a half step less? Well, you know that if it's in this family, it becomes minor. If it's a half step greater, it's augmented. But down here, it's not minor. There's no such thing as a minor fourth or a minor fifth or a minor octave. Be diminished is a half step less. Fortunately, if it's a half step greater, it's still augmented. Now, if it's two half steps, then you get doubly augmented or doubly diminished or things like that. That's pretty unusual. So let's start. I think you're ready to take the final exam now, probably. Here's the final exam over here on page, I think, 81, 82. Oh, yeah, we went through these easy trial things. Here it is. Here it is. This is harmonic intervals, not melodic intervals. They're at the same time or called harmonic intervals. And you're supposed to tell me two things. The number, and you actually say the quality of the interval first. You don't say second minor. You say minor second. Yeah. What's this one?
Which one?
Next, that's a D, by the way. It's not very clear. Well, what's the number? You guys know the number.
4.
So it's in family B. Does G belong in the scale of D?
Augmented.
It's half step greater, so it's augmented. Does that make sense? All right. Abby, figure this one out. Is F in the scale of A flat major? Major scale, yeah.
Yeah.
It is. So that is a
Major
sixth.
6.
Eric, what about this one?
Yes. It's major.
Well, what's a number first? It's a
Sixth.
It's a sixth. Is D in the scale, a D sharp in the scale of F? No. No. Is it half step less or half step more? Or
It's half step more.
so it is.
It's major.
No.
Augmented.
Augmented. Right. What about this one, Rhodesia?
Major second.
That's easy, right? Major second. What about this one? Abby, you got this one now. You get this one.
Oh, I forgot what I said for the first one.
Hmm?
Oh, I forgot what I said for that one. Is it a minor 6?
It's minor sixth, right? Because in A major it would have 3 sharps, right? Yeah. How about this one, Eric?
Perfect A. Oh wait, no.
A what?
A perfect A.
Actually, that's an E.
Oh, so
So it's a seventh. What kind of seventh?
Minor
Minor seventh. Yeah.
That's a diminished 4th.
You are correct. It's a half step less. I mean, E should be the actual fourth. Okay, so I think you're ready to take this exam. How do you know if you got it right? Because there they are. There's the answers. And the way you can do this is what note would be a minor second above C? Abby.
C sharp.
No, wouldn't be C sharp. It would sound like C sharp, but you got to write it as a second. It has to be some kind of D.
D flat.
It has to be some kind of a D. There's got to be some kind of a G here. What kind of G would it be, Eric?
a G sharp.
G sharp. It has to be some kind of an F here. What kind of F? Rhodesia.
Just like normal.
Natural. Yeah, right. F. What about this one, Abby? This is an F. We have to have some kind of a D up there.
D sharp.
D sharp.
Double flat. G double flat.
Oh no, it's a second. Some kind of a second. So from D flat to some kind of E. Oh, maybe you can't see it real.
E double
E.
flat.
No. You just
Is that
a major second.
a major
It's
second?
like a whole step, right?
Just A flat.
Do you think you could make 100% on this? If you took your time?
Yeah.
You could check yourself. Is what's the E flat? There it is. You know. And if you were wondering what in the world is that, what is that?
That's
Some kind of a
augmented-
second.
augmented
Should be an augmented second, so we should see +2 right there. Yeah. Well, why don't you go home tonight and work on these and get really fast at it. But the key is this page 74, where I give you the chart. This is a pretty interesting page. I mean, here they just tell you, if it fits in the scale, then it's okay. But fourths and fifths and octaves are perfect. What about, I like this little chart right here. Yeah, it gives you all the possibilities. This is a unison, and it's perfect. Here is a major second. If it's a half step less, it's minor. If it's a half step greater, it's augmented. This would sound like that. This would sound like this. It would sound like they're all seconds, depending because of the rhythm. Now, this interval sounds just like that, but it's not a minor. It's not an augmented second because it's written as a third. And what about this one? It's diminished. It's 2 half steps less. This would be, a major third, but 1 half step, 2 half steps less. Diminished third. You had a question?
Yeah, so with this, so if it sounds like this, but it's written C and D double flat for some
I know,
reason.
that would be weird, wouldn't it? That would be I guess a diminished second. How stupid would that be? Good question. Yeah, right. Yeah. You could say this is an augmented seventh, but it would have to be spelled B sharp.
Yeah.
But who would ever do that? Yeah. So some of these things are a little bit theoretical, right? A little bit theoretical. So this sort of gives you all there's 4 different ways you could write a sixth, 3 different ways you could write a fourth, and so forth. So yeah. So I think you know everything you need to know to take this test. And why don't you? You could use your pencil, write in the label, and then check, see if you got it right. And then you could do this and write in the note, go back and check, see if you got that right. That make sense? Okay. So we're done with intervals.
Would this be augmented fourth? No, doubly augmented fourth, like this, but it's spelled C
If you
flat
spelled it
and
C flat,
diminished.
it would be. It would be. But that's one of those really theoretical ones that I can see your brain is working like mine would have worked too. Okay. Let's see. Okay, here we go. You all know what scales are. On each degree of the scale, we call this first degree, second degree, third, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hey, you all know this. You can build a triad using just the notes. You do that on an E. You can Now, as it turns out, we call this the 1 chord, and we use Roman numeral 1. And we make it a capital Roman numeral because it's major. We make this Roman numeral 2, but it's a small case Roman numeral because it's minor. Don't worry about these names down here except for tonic and dominant. I think those are the main ones you need. You don't need to know about medians and submedians and it's not bad to know that, but that's not what's important. What's important is to know that the 2 chord in a major key is always the 3 chord,
Minor.
4 chord,
Major.
5 chord,
Minor.
and the 7 is the 1 and only diminished triad. Okay, those are called diatonic triads. Do you know that word, diatonic?
forget exactly, but isn't it like this?
No, it's not. It's it means using only 7 of the 12 notes. The 7 notes in a major or a minor scale. You can have a diatonic, minor thing. And I mean, all of a sudden it's not diatonic any longer. Yeah. Because he needs to get to G major and he's going to need to change the keys, So a lot of music starts out diatonic and then it goes in different. Now once you get to the romantic composers and the modern composers, they don't want to start out that way, but an awful lot of Mozart and Haydn and Beethoven and Bach, start just you don't see any accidentals in the key. It's all just playing. So let's see if you can play the diatonic triads in any of these 12 keys, and we'll do it not by doing that, but we'll go. So you really have to think what it is, and then we'll do D major next. What's the next chord going to be? E minor. What's next? F sharp.
G
Major.
A major, B minor,
C sharp.
diminished.
Diminished. Okay, let's go again and see if we can do some of those things. And that's exactly what I've got on page 9. I've written
Page
it out.
9 on harmony.
Yeah, keyboard harmony. Yeah. And actually, why don't we do what I've written out there? Instead of going in just one hand, go F sharp, minor. So that you really kind of do the scale in your left hand in octaves. So it'll kind of help you know what you're going to do. And I'd like you, as you do that, I want you to say 1 major. I'm sorry, E major, F sharp minor, we know it's the 2, G sharp minor, A major. Okay? Now I've written it in E major, but let's start in C major, okay? Just to make it easy, okay? Here we go, C major.
C major,
Okay, ready, go. C major, D minor, E minor,
F major, G major,
great. Let's do it in D major. A little bit slower, perhaps. Ready, go. D major, call out the RQI. E minor.
F minor, G major,
Make sure it's not a diminished. Good. Okay. E major. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. You guys do it while I'm in the bathroom. Go.
Maybe do that one more time. E major. Slow. G sharp. A major. C sharp minor. B. D sharp diminished. Saying is hard.
Yeah.
Playing is easy. Can you guys play it without saying it? Maybe that's easier. E major. have to say it in the sharp and flat and whatever.
Well, I
But
know,
they
but
can
I'm
play it fine.
Yeah, it is easier. I want them to. All right.
So what's next one?
G major. Let's do G major. Ready, go. F sharp, F sharp. We're good, F sharp. Let's go back to the 5 chord. The 5 chord is what? D. All right, now we'll go on to the end. D, E minor, F sharp, diminished. Good. Good. Okay. What about A major? Let's keep going through. You feel like you're? I mean, some of them are going to be hard, or B major is going to be hard, and the black notes will probably be not as familiar. Here we go. A major. Ready? Go. Good.
If they don't have to say it, they can play it properly.
Don't forget.
Yeah.
Go back to the 5 chord. Go back to the 5 chord. E major. Ready? Go.
That's sharp.
Okay. All right. Now we're gonna have to slow down for B major, I suspect. Ching, ching, ching. Go. E major. F sharp major. A sharp. Okay. Now this time I think let's go really slow. Let's go really slow, and I think it will be helpful to call it out so that you really know what you're playing, not just moving fingers somewhere. Because you know the names of these chords. Here we go. They're all in position. Okay, so ready, go. B major, C sharp minor, E flat minor, G sharp minor, E major, F sharp major, G sharp minor, and A sharp diminished. Don't forget that A sharp. Let's go backwards. One chord, 7 chord. Great. Bravo. I think going up and down is probably really good. Let's start with D flat major. Okay, start over again. It's gonna be minor. The E flat minor is coming up. Ready, go. F minor. A major. D flat minor. C diminished. Backwards. Alright, let's repeat D flat. Ready, go. Diminish. B flat. A flat. Good job. Okay. Alright, your homework will be to get really good at what we just did in all 12 keys. Okay? And what are you doing when you're doing that? How would you describe what you'd be playing?
D, D, D. Die.
Diatonic series of triads. Yeah. And I would suggest you go up and down. It's really, I've only written it going up, but you can go down. We won't do the minors. The minors or diatonic triads are a little bit odd because they can vary a little bit, depending on what minor scale you use. So we won't worry about those. But now we can start using triads in, I mean, let's face it, as That's not a very nice chord progression. But I've written some chord progressions here. Hop up a second. on page. Actually, I don't think we need to worry about page 10. I think you all are good enough to jump to page 11. And there's some nice chord progressions here. Here's a really famous one. 1, 4, 5, 7, 1.
Number 7?
I like it to have the 7th in there.
No, it's number 7?
Yes, it is number 7. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Chord progression number 7. Now look, you can start with your right hand in this position, or you can start with the right hand in this position. Do the very same. Or you can start up in second inversion.
I think that was one of the question. Eric has the test in DU. I don't remember this year or last year.
It was
Something.
both.
Yeah.
Both? Okay.
Yeah.
That different inversion.
But notice that if it is 4, 5, 7, 1, the bass will always be the same no matter what the right hand is playing, because it's the bass that determines. So
That's the root note, right?
Right. They're all in root position. We'll get inversions over here. We'll get some little fancier. So I think you should be able to do that in major and minor keys. So number 7 and number 8.
Which
Now.
major?
What?
Which major you want them to
All
do?
12. All 12. Yes. So let's start doing that. Play it, and you'll kind of need to memorize it. I'm sure you can. Okay. Let's just do it on just that one, and then we'll do it.
See if you can transfer to.
So
Did you have this book? Where is it? You gotta look at this.
do it again.
Page 11.
Okay, now let's do that. Eric, you want to try that? Just play it a couple of times. So great. Okay. Now we're going to do that. Won't help to look up anymore. Let's do it in D major. It's kind of slow. Aha. Okay. Now I've got a hint for you. Come over and watch. Here's your hint. The left hand is easy. Use that. You know it's going to be D major. You know it's going to be G major. So from here, you want to find the nearest. Don't jump around like that. Go to the nearest, and we know some kind of A chord. A in this case. Now we haven't talked about seventh chords, but you know one. You sort of know. So that really helps. G major, A7, D, E, A, B7, E. So it'd be A major. Yeah.
I can do any key.
I bet you could.
I always do it with same fingering.
Yeah, and that helps.
Yeah.
And you should. You should. It's probably the best way to do that. Yeah. There.
Same fingering. Same fingering
Yeah,
helps.
that's a good hint. Start with 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 5,
1, 2, 4, 5.
and probably you could just keep your forward as arc. It's probably easier to do it that way. I don't want you just to think about moving fingers to the right place. I want you to really know as you play that. I'm playing an F major chord. It has to be second inversion in the right hand. Yeah. Let's try a little bit of this, okay? Let's go back to C major. Ready? C major. Go. Think about the scale of E major. Okay, ready, go. E major and A major.
4 sharps.
A major, what's that? What's right? And B. That's it.
Yes.
That's it. F major. Okay. G major.
Slow, slow. Only 1 sharp.
That's Okay. A major.
Slowly.
You gotta
G
get it right.
sharp.
Get it right. B major.
Slow.
E major. F sharp dominant.
Sharp,
F
sharp.
sharp. Okay, so look. You all have good ears, and you can immediately tell if you get it right or wrong, right? And when you get it wrong, your ears should say, "Oh gosh, I'm too low or I'm too high," and so you figure it out and get to where you really just. I mean, why come you had no problem in D major or F major or G major, and all of a sudden B major? Ugh. Well, because you're not as familiar. I want you to get really good at B major. And how about D flat major? Let's do D major, D flat major. Okay. First, set up your left hand and know what the notes are going to be. Right. Okay, ready, go. That's right. Okay, good, Abby. E flat major. Ready, go. Erica, I think we'll take her advice. I see you moving your fingers around. If you do this, actually, I would probably play them like that.
Or 1, 2, 4, 5 for
It actually
the
makes
opposite.
that. So we try that. 1, 3, 5, and then you just try.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay, so some of the keys are a lot harder than others. What time is it?
4:44.
Oh, good. We got a little bit of time, and we're not done. Let's see if we can do this in minor. Okay. It's not any harder. You just gotta. So, you know what? Everybody come up.
Is it? I have a question.
Uh-huh.
When you design the minor, are we always playing with harmonic
Yes.
for the chords? It doesn't matter with piano or violin's different when we come with the chords.
Well, here in minor, if you look at a minor key, I've written in D minor, okay? The problem is that you would not want to have that C sharp in there. So the 3 chord is usually major. The 4 chord is always minor. The 5 chord in D minor, there is no C sharp, but we always have that leading tone. The 6 chord is major. The 7 chord is still diminished.
Where are you listing that?
I'm on page 9, the bottom.
Oh,
Series of diatonic triads in minor keys is considerably different than major keys.
where is it? Oh, you did listed D minor.
I wrote it in D minor. But the main thing to note is that the 1 chord is minor, the 4 chord is minor, and the 5 chord is major. So we'll be playing it like this. And if you want to not play the 7th, you could just go A major, D minor. Let's do it that way. I don't know how I wrote it.
So the major is totally opposite, just the opposite of minor. Well,
Except for
major
the 5
4
chord.
and 5.
The 5 chord is
But
always
5
major.
still sevenths.
Well,
I mean sevenths.
Yeah.
The 7th chord.
Yeah, the 7th chord is the 7th.
Sevenths.
Okay, let's try it. It shouldn't be that hard. You just got to remember, play. The 1 chord is minor. The 4 chord is minor. Use the same finger and all that.
So we're going back to page 11.
We're on page 11 and number 8 this time.
So dominant 7's the same as major chord.
Okay, let's try in D minor. Okay, D minor, G minor.
Harry, you're
A.
blocking.
Oh, I'm blocking it. I'm sorry. Okay. So here's where I think you need to call out what the chord is and not just move fingers to certain distances.
1, 4,
E
5.
minor, A minor, B dominant. Okay, let's do it one at a time. Rhodesia, you do an F minor. C dominant and F minor. Heavy. Minor. Use your ear. Do it again. Get it. And say F minor, B flat minor, B flat minor, C dominant 7th. Yes. Eric, you want to try it?
F minor, B minor.
It's gonna be a C. It's gonna be major. Try it. If you want to leave out the 7th, you can, and just play C major. That's all. You can do it that way. Okay, you can do it that way.
What? That's an F?
They can just leave out the 7th. They can leave out the 7th. if they want to. It's easier. Yeah. Okay. How about G minor? Let's all do it together now. Okay. And leave out the 7th. Just you'll be playing. Let's say what you're going to be playing. G minor, C minor, D major, G minor. Okay, here we go. Ready? Go. G minor, C minor, D major, A minor, key of A minor. Before you play it, I want you to think what the RQI of the chords will be. Don't play them. I want you to say it out loud. What is it? What's the 1 chord?
A minor,
What's the 4 chord?
D minor,
What's the 5 chord?
D major.
E major. All right, here we go. Ready? Go. Good. B minor. Think before you play. What's the 5 chord going to be?
F sharp major.
F sharp major. All right, here we go. Good. Okay. C sharp minor. Key of C sharp minor. What will the chords be?
C
sharp minor.
C sharp minor, then
sharp major.
F sharp minor, and
Or G
G sharp major. Here we go. Good. All right. Your assignment is to be really good on all 12. And that's not the end of it. We still have how many minutes?
10 more minutes.
Okay, so Let's see if you can do the next step. Would be to do the second series. It's exactly the same chords. We'll do it in C major. Didn't that sound just like that? The left hand is identical. It's just your chords are in a different position. So you start
Where
with
is that?
page number 7, the second little
Page
progression.
number 7?
Page 11.
Oh, you said.
Number 7. We're doing this here.
Oh, this one.
Yep. Yep.
The first inversion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, right hand is first inversion.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The first inversion.
Okay. Now do it in D major. And here again, if you would like to leave out, if you want to leave out the 7th, it might make it easier to go. And just think A major rather than word. That it kind of confuses things. It sounds better, but we can just start by leaving out the 7th. I wrote that in. The book didn't have it. So once again, think what the quality of the chord is going to be. Let's do it in E major. What's the 5 chord going to be? B major. And the 4 chord? A major. Here we go. A major, B major. Good. F major. Ready, go. I saw that coming. G major. C major. D major. Yeah, but this will always tell you what the note is. Yeah. A major. E major. Okay, all right. Okay. Can you learn to do that in 12 keys? Okay. Let's do the next one.
Second inversion.
We're used to the right hand. We'll start in second inversion. Now here you may want to play the 7th because it's really easy to play the 7th. Okay, here we go. Ready to go. D major. I would suggest not starting with a 5, start with a 4. So
Yeah, 4, 5, 5, 4.
that could be an A dominant 7th in root position. Yeah, I would suggest you start with a 4th finger
4,
on that
5,
6th
5,
one
4.
because you're going to have to go up, right? Ready, go. Try it again, D major. Okay, E major. What's the 5 chord going to be? B dominant 7th in root position. Ready, go. A major, B dominant 7th. There you go. E major. There you go. F major. F major key. Ready? Go. Okay. All right. We're about to end. Come up, everybody. I want to explain something. You seem to have a little trouble with this last one, and I wouldn't think you would. In F major, you're going to be starting on second inversion. It's probably better if you start with the 4th finger because you're going to go up here. You're going to go to the B flat major, and then this should be really easy. You just build a C dominant 7th in root position. And I want you to know dominant 7th because, boy, we are going to drill dominant 7ths like crazy. Look at the next page. Over here. Oh, a whole bunch of 7th chords. But when we start doing chord progressions, we'll get to them here. Oh, wait a minute. Let's skip it. page 19. We're going to be doing all kinds of dominant sevenths. We're going to be going. We're also be instead of starting there, we can start or how about this? Here's a chord progression: 5-7-1, 5-7-1, 5-7-1, 5-7-1. Except that each the bass is except that all the different ways you can resolve. You can resolve it there, or from there to there, or like that. We'll be doing a lot with dominant sevenths. So I think that when you do this, you don't have to play the dominant seventh here, but definitely play it here. We'll call it 7C, and I want you to do this in minor too. It shouldn't be any harder. F minor, G major, up here. Anybody confused? So what's your assignment this week?
All 12.
In project number 1, what's your assignment?
I'll read the.
Maybe I better write this out and send it to you, okay? But just to remind you, Bach is all about Bach in the piano lit. 2 chapters on Bach. Actually, one is on suites, and then there are 3 CDs. That'll take you a while to listen to that. And then only in the piano lit, a music lit section. What are you going to do there?
Read the 2, chapter 5 and 6.
That's the first. You're going to be
Listen to the third.
in the legacy thing. Just number 3. You want to? This will take probably 20 minutes, maybe 25, to listen to what I had to say about it in my little excerpts, and then choose an excerpt. I'm going to insist that you have it be one of the symphonies. Don't do another overture. Okay, those are too short. And then what is it? The assignment for keyboard harmony?
Do this and also do.
It's chord progressions, the diatonic. So that's not it. In all keys, not minor, just major. And then intervals. Don't forget to do the little interval thing. I'll send you a note. Okay.
I'll send them this,
And-
they can review.
And maybe you can help them in their lessons or something. Is this getting
Another thing,
Is this getting too hard? Am I too hard on you?